Hello, YouTube. Today I want to tell you more about the paranormal phenomena of this very important territory in the Russian Federation, but also about some other landmarks in that territory that are of an apocalyptic character. The Ural Mountains run from north to south through the western part of Russia. The ridge runs from the border of the Arctic Ocean in the north to the Ural River in the south. It is known as the main physical border separating Asia from Europe. The Ural Mountains are a valuable part and feature of Russia as they are a source of several natural resources, including coal, metal ores, and precious stones. However, the Ural Mountains are known not only for their resources or the fact that they are a physical barrier. They're also known for some interesting ancient artifacts, as I told you in my other videos, and you can find them in the playlists in my channel. And also they're known for the historical evidence found, including Ural pictographs. The Ural pictograms or pictographs were created according to estimates more than 5,000 years ago and contain incredibly interesting information. A pictograph or pictogram is a representation of data using images or symbols. In fact, the information they contain is so interesting that some theorists have suggested the existence of a technologically advanced community that once lived in these mountains, or even that there was a visit from aliens with more advanced electronics than ours. The Ural pictographs were discovered several hundred years ago in the 1600s during the reign of Peter the Great. Peter the Great, emperor, ruled Russia from 1696 to 1725, and he is credited with helping bring Russia into the modern era. According to some sources, Peter the Great initially instructed a local clerk to copy the Ural pictographs for further study, but this is not fully confirmed. It is also not confirmed exactly how many Ural pictographs were seen at that time. Today we know that the full length of the pictograms is more than 800 kilometers, 497.1 miles. These pictographs of the Urals are located on the banks of several rivers, including Tagil, Neva, Urazan, and Reza. They are densely colored in various colors from lilac to dark brown. It is believed that they were painted with a mixture of ochre, natural brown earth pigment, and blood, and the ratio of these two ingredients varied to obtain different shades. For example, with more blood, more red pigments were obtained, and with more ochre, lighter brown shades were obtained. It is not known whether other pigments were used in the manufacture of this paint. The content of the Ural pictograms is the most interesting part. Most of the images are of various animals, such as birds, moose, snakes, and deer. Some also depict bears and even show differences between species of waterfowl, including geese and ducks. Interestingly, some of these animal images are so detailed that they include anatomical diagrams showing the skeleton and organs of animals. Perhaps it was an informational way to help hunters dissect animals, or even an early way to illustrate animal autonomy for farmers who needed to treat injured animals. It could also be just a way of recording early scientific research conducted in the field of anatomy and physiology of various animals. People and their various hunting tools are also depicted behind the animals. Interestingly, there is no evidence of the use of fishing devices as a tool for food extraction, even though the pictographs are located near several waterways. Among the many pictographs of people and animals found in the Ural Mountains, not a single fish is found, and only a few figures of fishing nets, although this is not confirmed. People stand, run, dance, and use weapons such as spears are often found in rock paintings of Ural pictographs. Some Ural pictographs depict strange people and strange shapes, which, according to some, demonstrates extraterrestrial interaction. However, the most interesting images in the Ural pictograms are not people, animals, or weapons. The most interesting illustrations depict various geometric shapes, such as interconnected pentagons, hexagons, and other shapes and lines. Modern researchers have discovered that these geometric images are strangely like the chemical structures of various elements and compounds. Vladimir Avinsky, a Russian nuclear, molecular, and optical physicist, began studying Ural pictograms to compare them with existing chemical structures and formulas. He found that the images bear a striking resemblance to chains, polygons, and other shapes used in chemical compounds in organic chemistry. A common form among pictograms is the honeycomb structure. Some say that these honeycombs may be illustrations of real honeycombs, but some, like Avinsky did, believe that they represent chemical structures. Although the Ural pictographs appear to represent chemical structures, it is unknown how they could have known the chemical composition of various compounds. To date, there is practically no evidence, apart from the pictograms, that could explain how the ancient inhabitants of the area more than 5,000 years ago would have been able to determine the chemical composition of these compounds. Some chemists and archaeologists suggest that ancient civilizations may have possessed technologies superior to those we know, but others, including Avinsky before his death, believe that this information could have been obtained from the aliens who visited our planet. This answer may seem to be extreme to some, but studying the chemical compounds themselves, as well as additional evidence of extraterrestrial contacts, allows us to better understand this hypothesis. Some of the Ural pictograms' orange color, in comparison with the structural formulas of polyethylene, polyvinyl chloride, atactic polystyrene, anthracene, phenanthrene, fluorocycline, chrysene, graphite, and gramacidine S. Throughout almost the entire 800-kilometer section of the illustrations, many different polygonal structures are depicted on the Ural pictograms. Some of the clearest and most curious drawings are, again, almost identical to the chemical composition of several common compounds. The most common compounds that can be identified by pictograms apparently are polyethylene, atactic polystyrene, graphite, and gramacidine S. There is also evidence of the existence of compounds such as anthracene, chrysene, and other similar chemicals. The use of these chemical compounds is very interesting. In the past, graphite was used both for the manufacture of writing materials and as a refractory material in the manufacture of weapons. Today, it is also used in the production of lithium-ion batteries, graphene technology, and as a semiconductor. Polyethylene is the most common plastic in the world, which is used in a variety of different items, including plastic bags, fuel containers, water bottles, and much more. Gramacidine S, on the other hand, is a common antibiotic that kills gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria infection. It is also capable of killing some types of fungi. Polyethylene could be used to create various objects and structures necessary in everyday life. Gramacidine S could be used to treat bacterial and fungal infections in various parts of the body. But what evidence, if any, supports all of this? A historical analysis of people who lived in the Ural Mountains can give us more information. If the indigenous inhabitants of the Ural Mountains were able to understand the chemical composition of these compounds, perhaps they would use them in various technologies of their civilization. Graphite could be used in writing materials or in advanced technologies. The indigenous peoples living in the Ural Mountains at the time of the creation of the Ural pictographs belong to several different groups. In the north, the Nenets lived in the Pai Hoi district, and in the middle of the southern part of the mountains, the Komi, Mansi, and Hanti. Look through my other videos, including the Dyatlov Pass ones and more about the Urals, and you'll find more about these people. The largest indigenous group of the Ural Mountains are the Bashkirs, people living in the southernmost part of the mountains. Currently, all these groups are settled, and the northernmost groups still live in traditional life, engaged in fishing, hunting, and breeding deer. Currently, the indigenous peoples of the Ural Mountains make up only a fifth of the total population of the Urals. The remaining 4/5 are modern Russians, who do not come from these indigenous peoples, these different ethnicities. Both modern and indigenous inhabitants of the Urals lead a traditional lifestyle, and like I said, including hunting and fishing. They also often use many resources of the Ural Mountains, including magnetite, titanium, chromite, gold, platinum, and other ores and precious stones. A large amount of mineral resources has led to the fact that in some areas of the Ural civilization, mining, mechanical engineering, and metallurgy have become the main jobs in the region. Given all these resources, it is likely that the ancient indigenous peoples of the Ural Mountains used many of these chemical compounds in construction and trade. If they knew exactly what kind of materials they were working with, it would help them develop new tools and resources. And I need to remind you about the vanished, advanced people of the Ural Mountains, like the Chud and others that I have described in separate videos. So it's not only the people who are on the surface of this planet. We are also talking about advanced humanoids who have disappeared in the bowels of the planet. But that's something you can pick up from other videos. I really urge you to, if you want to know more about the Urals. Now, in the history of the Urals, there is no clear evidence of the presence of special equipment or physical capabilities to determine the chemical composition of any of these materials. And we're speaking about the history that basically we have from the time of Peter the Great. Not much. And there is nothing else recorded from the past, unless you consider the pictograms to be it. Although the ancients could use this abundance of resources, it is unknown whether they had the opportunity to determine their chemical composition. However, one discovery suggests that this is possible. Those who believe in Ural pictograms and their similarity to chemical structures point to another interesting discovery in the Ural Mountains, which in their opinion may be related to pictograms. If this is true, then it's possible that the ancient Uralians were able to analyze the chemical composition of their resources, which may ultimately explain the Ural pictograms. So, are the Ural pictograms a sign of the extraterrestrial encounter on Earth, or is this evidence of the existence of a much advanced scientific civilization that no longer exists? Or are they neither one or the other, but are early abstract drawings by local artists, keen on angles and neat shapes? With the little evidence we have found for each of these possibilities, we may never know the whole truth about the Ural pictographs. Now, let me take you to the discovery. And if you watch my presentations sometimes on various international TV channels and my lectures, and also some videos in this channel, you will know more what I'm speaking about. But here it is. In the early 1990s, a group of archaeologists, actually it was geologists, archaeologists were involved later. They discovered a group of nanostructures the age of which, judging by the depth of occurrence, is about 300,000 years. These nanostructures are made of a combination of copper, tungsten, and molybdenum, depending on the size of a particular fragment. These nanostructures raise many questions among archaeologists and, of course, geologists, as further study shows that there are small technological details, including coils, shafts, and spirals. The details of these nanostructures are so intricate that the researchers are sure that they were manufactured, machine-made products that could not appear naturally in nature. In addition, the depth at which they were found confirms that they are too old to be remnants of any recent technological development, for example, the launch of missiles or aircraft flying nearby. The discovery again led to a split of opinions. While some believe that they are proof of a more advanced technology in the Urals than previously thought, others believe that they are evidence of an alien visit. I personally believe that there was a very much advanced ancient civilization, but warfare was not abandoned, apparently, by our ancestors. And whatever happened on the planet at that time, there was a mass destruction and warfare, like I said, and a huge explosion that left behind remnants of that civilization. But let's listen to all other opinions. If aliens had visited the Urals almost 300,000 years ago, they could have left behind the wreckage of their craft or other alien technology. Those who do not believe in the theory of aliens say that perhaps the indigenous Ural civilization was intelligent enough to create these machines and tools. What we know paints an interesting picture for both archaeologists, researchers, and conspiracy theorists. The existence of a complex nanostructures in the same place as these potentially scientific pictographs leads some to suggest that they may be related. Although there is currently insufficient evidence to come to a definite conclusion, future research may lead to more evidence regarding these amazing findings. Only then we will be able to determine the truth, whether aliens or humans. I don't know where the money for the future research will come out from. Mankind is more interested in creating new weapon systems and weapon designs, and not spend money on such insignificant subjects as search for ancient civilization, traces of or ancient aliens on our planet. So that's where we are in the 21st century. But let me now tell you about another fascinating area of the Ural Mountains. It has to do more with extraterrestrial anomalies. You see, some researchers in the Urals believe that legends about lost or unusual places are associated with the unidentified flying objects. So not far from the village of Krivoye Ozero, there is a mountain, popularly called the Devil's Hill Fort. Before the Russian Revolution, local residents believed that the imps lived there, who often danced at night. Nowadays, many people claim that they often see moving lights in the flat top of the mountain, which then soar into the sky and then go uphill. There is a point on the Uktus Mountains of the Urals, once in which, according to legend, once you get there, you can see your former incarnations. It is curious that residents of the surrounding settlements several times a year spot glowing objects of various shapes over the tops of these mountains, which seem to protect this somewhat protected place. The Ukta-Evma road has been notorious for a long time, along which merchants and travelers did not dare to travel without amulet icons, fearing demons appearing in the air. Nowadays, motorists often see dancing lights and flashes of light along the road. Cases of mysterious disappearance of people were also noted in the very same places. South Ural historian Yuri Zavyalov explained why UFOs are so often observed in the Chelyabinsk region. He is sure that the reason should be sought not on other planets, but in the bowels of the earth. The most common strange phenomena can be seen in the so-called geopathogenic zones. In them, a certain spectrum of visible light is acquired by particles heavier than the photon. They break through the thickness of the Earth and can create some kind of glow. It is dangerous to linger in such places, the local historian is sure. The heart gets knocked down, the heartbeat quickens, the pressure rises. You just have to get away from that place. Watch the animals and trees. Where they writhe, where they creep, there is a geopathogenic zone. Yuri Zavyalov explained to Russian media. Interestingly, such zones with abnormal energy output can be of two types. The first, stationary, is the Bermuda Triangle, where ships and aircraft are disappearing. And in the Kunashak district, more likely, there was a mobile, wandering zone. Here, the energy output is unstable. It is worth noting that the appearance of abnormal activity can cause the death of animal and people. Now, according to a local ufologist Sergei Shebanov, the region could be considered a mecca for ufologists. There are a large number of anomalous zones in the Ural Mountains, as you can pick up from my videos and presentations. In the region, even a couple of times, they even noticed abominable snowmen. Nevertheless, Shebanov is skeptical about the appearance of UFOs. He put forward his own hypothesis of the origin of glowing spheres. The fires in the marshes, in the swamps, which were noticed by residents of the Kunashak district not long ago, may be the result of the ignition of phosphorus gases. Also in the mountainous areas, flying glowing spheres can be the result of an optical illusion that occurs due to the refraction of the headlights of a car descending from the mountain. Sergei Shebanov said that it is not so difficult to prove the presence of UFOs in a particular area. We need to look for landing traces. If there are none, there can be no question of any aliens. Do not give free rein to fantasy and panic, he said. Now, let's move on to a very interesting island in the Urals. And I've talked about it before, but want to remind about the mysterious megaliths of Vera Island. It's on the Lake Turgayak in the Chelyabinsk region. And you know there is a lot of paranormal phenomena in Chelyabinsk region if you just look through my videos about that particular area of the Ural Mountains. The megaliths were built in the 4th millennium BC and date back about 6,000 years ago. Archaeologists have discovered several types of megalithic objects on the island, dolmens made of stone and many menhirs. That's talking about vertically mounted stones. A few years ago, during archaeological excavations, a unique feature of local dolmens was established. It turned out that the holes were made taking into account the points of sunrise and sunset on the days of the equinoxes and solstices. It's a very cool place. Again, money is needed to do very thorough archaeological research all around the area, but let's be positive. Maybe they'll find the funds one day. And in conclusion, I want to tell you about more modern, more apocalyptic mystery of the Urals. Kasvinsky stone. So what's that Russia's most secret mountain, as some call it? What is it hiding? There are a lot of mountains in Russia, but only one of them, this Kasvinsky stone, is of particular interest to Russia's adversaries and their military forces. They do not care at all about rocks, lakes, and unique coniferous forests of the Massif. For them, it is a potential location of the command post of the perimeter system. The inevitable response is the perimeter system, known in the West as the Dead Hand, a complex of automatic control of a massive retaliatory nuclear strike created during the Cold War. Its main purpose is to ensure that the launch order is delivered to command posts and individual launchers, even if communication with the command is lost during an emergency. The system includes stationary and mobile control centers that constantly assess seismic activity, radiation levels, air pressure, and temperature over a vast territory, monitor military frequencies, record the intensity of negotiations, monitor the data of the missile attack warning system. They also track point sources of powerful electromagnetic and ionizing radiation that coincide with seismic disturbances, the main evidence of nuclear strikes. At the same time, the perimeter was originally created to be completely automatic. After analyzing all the data, the complex itself can decide on a retaliatory nuclear strike. Having detected signs of an attack, it sends a request to the general staff. If the response is reassuring, the system returns to the situation analysis state. If there is no answer, it turns to the Kazbek strategic missile control system. If there is no answer here, then the perimeter itself decides on an adequate retaliatory strike. Such a device, on the one hand, provides in fact, a real deterrence of the enemy from a preventive strike, and on the other hand, ensures against the adoption of a hasty decision by the command, which would be based on unconfirmed information. In the event of a decision to strike, the system launches a command rocket with a special head unit, which in flight transmits launch commands to all control points and command posts of the strategic missile forces that have appropriate receivers. Command missiles to this day probably remain the only widely known component of the system. Their technical operation is identical to the operation of the base rocket. However, it is possible that the missiles are based in other types of launch shafts. Another unknown factor is the status of the system. During the 2010s, reports appeared in the media several times that the perimeter is operational, is on the combat duty. In November of 2020, at a meeting of the Russian Nuclear Deterrent Forces, President Vladimir Putin announced the completion of the creation of a protected control point in Russia. The head of state, of course, did not specify which specific object he was talking about, and this is the next mystery related to the perimeter. However, experts confidently claim that the protected object meant the Ural strategic area, the Uralsky settlement, more commonly known as the Kasulina One, closed, of course, to the foreigners, outsiders, and so forth. The 21st arsenal of the strategic missile forces is located on its territory, where a significant part of Russian nuclear weapons is stored. It is believed that in the immediate vicinity of it, in the Kasvinsky Stone, there is a control point for nuclear weapons and the perimeter system. It is hidden at a depth of 250 meters under a mountain range and is practically inaccessible to enemy weapons. It is there, according to statements by the U.S. military and the former CIA Director James Woolsey, that the system has been operating since 1985. And it is clear why the mountain remains under the close attention of Russia's foreign adversaries and their military command. The perimeter has been repeatedly tested and modernized, and today remains perhaps one of the main deterrents of the Third World War, according to Alexander Khrolenko, a columnist for the Russian RIA Novosti news agency. At the same time, in 2018, the former chief of the General Staff of the Strategic Missile Forces, Viktor Yesin, said that the perimeter system would be ineffective in the event of a possible U.S. withdrawal from the Treaty of the Elimination of Medium and Short-Range Missiles. The United States will be able to deploy its missiles in Europe and destroy the bulk of the Russian missile assets even before the dead hand has time to react. When the system finally works, Russia will have little means left for an adequate response. We will be able to launch only those missiles that will survive after the aggressor's first strike, the Colonel General said, noting that the remaining missiles can be intercepted by the American Missile Defense System. All this means that if the system starts work, if there is an exchange of missiles, maybe 300,000 years from now, geologists of whatever beings will be still on our planet, who knows, will find nanotechnology pieces from our civilization. Again, if there's anything left, or if there's a total devastation on our planet, those who live in the bowels of the planet will finally be able to relinquish their presence on the surface of the planet. But let's hope this is not going to come too. And let's be more positive, and I will bring you more stories about the mysteries of the Ural Mountains, because there are many. So if you like my research, please kindly support me through the links you will find in the description to this video. Please tell others about my channel, and please like my videos, and thank you very much for your attention to my work.